I'm really interested in going the syndication route, particularly with assisted livings in the next for the next few years. That's what I'm planning on doing. I like to put together a fund, raise capital for acquisitions of assisted living facilities. I have a couple of guys I work with that are brilliant in terms of operations.
Is there someone I can contact that would I've got a home, be like, hey, could you set up a sober living here? Are there people who would do that? You say it's really expensive. If it's $4,000 per month per house, I don't know if that would cash flow unless can you put several beds in a bedroom? Is that kind of the idea? And then how much do you get per bed? What would be a breakdown where it would actually work with a property manager? Or would you really, for this to be profitable, would you need to do it yourself or have a 0% interest seller financing, or how does that work?
No, so you could do it. Typically the numbers that I've seen in Oregon and Arizona and Texas are around the ballpark of 4,000 to 4,500 per bed income is what you're charging for per bed. So
sorry, 4,000 per bed?
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. Wait, how do the people have the money for that?
Okay. We're getting into complexities.
Well, I'm curious.
So my personal business model is I'm trying to get not the very top end of the market, right? I don't want to be in the Dominion or whatever, the top echelon, the cream of the crop. But I also don't want to be at in the middle of the market. I want to be somewhere between that, right? The way I think about it is I want my ideal clients to be the mom.
Did I lose him?
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
You got me?
Sorry, keep going. Yeah, you're back.
So imagine surgeon's son is driving to the hospital. On his way back home, he wants to pop into the assisted living home and see mom, right? That is the mindset. That's the kind of client I'm looking for, right? And so I want to be near areas that are high end.
Gotcha.
I want to be near areas that are pretty nice. I don't want to be too far out of the way. I want to make it easy for son or daughter to drop in and see mom. And so I'm targeting a market that's a little bit higher. And so I'm also charging prices that are a little bit higher, right? Now, my personal business model is based 100% on private pay. In other words, I don't take Medicaid, Medicare type clients. So if I'm asking someone to pay $4,000, $5,000, $8,000 per month per bed, in order for people to do that, they need to be people who generally have the means to do so. And so we're targeting people, they have the vacation home that they can sell, they have the primary residence that they can sell, they have pension plans and retirement plans and all that sort of stuff that they've saved up in order to pay for their retirement years.
Gotcha. Okay. So interesting. Okay. So then that makes it very easily profitable. Very, very exactly. Easily profitable if you can make that happen, right?
I think about it, if you're charging $4,000 per bed and you have 5 beds, that's easy $20K a month gross.
Yeah, I mean that's insane. I mean, what are your expenses on that?
Yeah, great question. So if you're putting a property manager in place, they're called different things in the different markets, resident managers or house manager, executive director, whatever it is. I mean, on my facilities, I was seeing profit margins easy 30, 35%, 40%.
So that's pretty damn good. So how are you partnering up with people? Now I want to own one of these houses with you, my man. I mean, that's pretty good cash flow. And that sounds like you could just get way more than the freaking market rental rate, right?
Absolutely.
If you it sounds like the move would be to find an operator of these in whatever area you want to own houses and then just make it happen, right? So would you partner up with someone on like somebody who brings to the house, maybe bring some private money and stuff like that? And then two, where are you doing it?
Yeah, so I'm based out of San Antonio, and I'm willing to work San Antonio, Austin, Houston, Dallas, the bigger markets here in Texas. I'll tell you what my ideal buy box is, right? The way it works in most states is that there is a dividing line between a 16 bed and a 17 bed facility. 16 bed and lower, those fall into they're designated like a residential assisted living. 17 beds and above, they're looked at more in a commercial type of setting, right? Now, when we're talking about 16 beds, really we're looking at this not like a house. We're thinking about this more like a multifamily type of, that's the point of view that we need to have when we look at these. So we're talking about cap rates, we're talking about NOIs, we're talking about RevPAR, we're talking about all these little things that go into determining cash flow and what's the market value of this, how do we determine the cap rate, all that sort of stuff. Ideally, if you can be at 16 beds or as close to 16 beds underneath, right, 14, 15, 16, you fall into a really great area where the facility is not so big that you lose that connection with your residents where they become just a number. You don't want that, right? No one wants to put their mom in a place where it's like, oh, she's just a number, we forgot about her. No, you want to have that direct, intimate relationship with your residents. So 16 beds in an A market, a neighborhood is like the ideal sweet spot. Now, it has to be zoned multifamily, or you have to rezone it into multifamily. You need to have fire sprinkler systems involved. All of that stuff needs to be.
Why does it have to be zoned multifamily? Because it's not like you're doing construction of the house, are you?
So in Texas, if you're in a residential neighborhood, if it's zoned residential, you can't have more than 6 residents. That's specifically spelled out in the zone.
So it depends which state.
Yes. Okay. In Arizona, you can have up to 10 residents in a residential assisted living home. So it really depends on the market. Really depends on the market. If you're interested in doing something in Texas, I'd be more than happy to talk. If you're interested in doing something in Oregon, I'm more than happy to talk. I have lots of contacts in Oregon. If you're interested in doing something in Arizona, I have lots of great contacts. In fact, I would
know anybody in Colorado potentially. That's kind of where I have my houses. I'm just curious. Probably not, but
I mean, I tell people the same thing, regardless of where you are. Start by doing a simple Google search, Colorado Assisted Living Association, and it'll get you right up front with all the rules.
Let's get into the really nitty gritty here. I want to start doing assisted living. What do I do step by step? Let's just go into that.
Okay. All right. So that's what I would do first. First, simple Google search. Colorado Assisted Living Rules and Regulations. And the second search would be Colorado Assisted Living Association. Those should get you kind of in the ballpark of what you're looking for. You need to become intimately familiar with the rules and regulations. Those are the bread and butter of what we do. That's what you're going to be audited by. That's what you're going to be inspected on. That's what you need to have all those rules in place before you get licensed. Like everything needs to be spelled out, right? Everything needs to be done exactly to the T. They have standards spelled out within the rules and regulations that talk about what is the width of the hallway need to be? How much square footage does the bedroom need to have? At what height does the windowsill need to be in order for this to be considered a habitable room for a resident? Because we have to remember, if it's an elderly person that has a hard time walking and there's a fire, God forbid, and they need to get out through the window, if the window's at 5 foot high, there's no way they're getting out, right? So they spell out all those rules. Yes, it's sometimes cumbersome and difficult because you have to make structural changes to the physical building, but it's for safety. Like it's a good thing they're there, right? So That's where I would start. Start with the rules and regulations, start with the assisted living association in your particular state. Okay. Now, I would also suggest getting to know the property codes, like know what the zoning means, know how many beds you're allowed to have. Like I said, in Oregon, you can have up to 5. In Arizona, you can have 10. In Texas, you can have up to 6 if you have a fire sprinkler system. So all those little complexities you have to know. You have to know, like, if you're trying to do this in like a 1950s house and the hallway is like 2.5 feet, you're not going to be able to do it because you need to be able to get a wheelchair down the hallway and pivot into a bedroom, right? So there's all those things that
Gotcha.
you have to think about. The bathrooms can't be too small because if someone goes in with a wheelchair, they need to be able to make a proper U-turn in order to get in and out of the bathroom. So it can't be done in any house, is what I'm trying to say. It has to be the right prime candidate.
Right.
Now, if I was trying to find a house to do this in, and maybe my thought was like, hey, I want to find a house and sort of like build it out into something bigger, it can be done for sure. And what I would do is I would try to find a house that was like maybe on a corner lot or that was adjacent to a multifamily or commercially zoned property. And I would ask the city to rezone me because that changes, right? You don't want to have a small little quarter-acre lot because it's not going to be big enough. You want to maximize your income potential, and if you can get to that 16 bed, you're going to maximize your potential. So maybe think about.
So let's talk about it for a second. Like let's take me for an example. Like here's what I would do, right? I will never be operating assisted living. That's just not going to happen, right? Like it's just not my style. I'm not an operator at all, right? My skill is getting houses, getting them under contract, all that good stuff, right? What should I do to find someone who knows what they're doing in my market? Like what should I do? Like what should I offer them? What would you want someone like me to come to you and say so that we start I start bringing you houses and we start doing assisted living and all that stuff together?
Yeah, definitely partnership is what I would be interested in. And the best way to do it, I think, is try to go for something bigger because it's much easier. The amount of effort involved in managing a 5 bed versus a 15 bed is slight. So there's only a slight increase in the amount of effort that you need to put in. Maximize your bed count, right? You hear Grant Cardone say this all the time, like the most important number that you need to be considering is unit count. Well, same thing is true in assisted living. Yes, you do better in the higher numbers, but that's not the market. That's not the type of product I offer. So if you were to come to me, I would say, let's partner on this where you bring in the property. Here is the property we need, right? We're getting very, very specific about the buy box, right? I want this particular property. We need to turn this property into this kind of property. And then I'll come in and I'll put in operations. We'll put in a manager that I can oversee. And let's do this 3 or 4 times where you'll bring in the properties, the acquisitions, we'll partner on that. I'll install managers in each one and oversee the daily operations of these facilities to make sure that we're turning a good profit on these.
Gotcha. So then that's literally all you would need, and then you just be like, all right, we'll do it. If I get you one that you like, basically.
Yeah, one of my friends he does a lot of training in assisted living business model out of Phoenix is Skorch The Fears. You might check out his YouTube. He does great work there too. He's got a very interesting model where he does like a 75-25 split on the real estate side with the operators he's working with. And also on the operation side, he does a 75-25% split. And what that means is on the real estate side, I believe he does somewhere around those numbers. It's an interesting number. It's an interesting way he does the business. But basically what he's doing is it's a syndication model, right? I'm raising funds Pace talks about this all the time, right? Creating funds of funds, right? Doing syndications and all that stuff. So what I'm particularly focusing on right now in this season is I want to raise capital in order to acquire facilities, syndicate that to investors, whether that they're accredited or not, doing it that way, but primarily accredited investors, and then giving them a return in a fund that is primarily focused around assisted living, senior living options. Now, here's the cool thing about senior living. If you're doing assisted living, you can have ancillary businesses that you also start that kind of feed into each other. For example, I already talked about the real estate business where we're acquiring real estate and using that for profit, right? There's the operation side of assisted living, which is where, the residents pay us for all the services we provide. Yes. But there's also things like hospice. There's also things like in-home nursing care. There's wound care, durable medical equipment, senior or adult daycare services. There's all these little things that kind of feed into each other that create a pipeline where if you can get people to come into the pipeline early while they're still independent and still, doing the majority of things for themselves, as they progress and maybe their acuity or their need of more hands-on care, they're going to turn to you because you're already trusted in their lives. You've been helping them so long. So there's so many other business opportunities within the world of senior care that it's limitless. There's so much opportunity.
Love it. I love it so much. So I kind of got off the mindset a little bit because I just been really curious with assisted living. So I'm gonna try that with someone who wants to do it in Colorado. I just have that's just where I'm buying real estate, right? Mm-hmm. So it's just cool. I like it. But
reach out to Colorado Assisted Living Association and they'll, they got groups and chats and Facebook groups, and you just pop on just like we do
just
with
try to
every
interview
other thing.
one.
Exactly.
I love it. So talk again a little bit. I feel like you talked a little bit about it, but how did you delegate out your other businesses? So talk about delegation for a second, because I knew you from the Gator lending stuff because that's what Pace brought you on for. I didn't even know you did assisted living. Is that completely automated at this point? How did you do that? How'd that happen?
The Gator lending stuff?
Yeah.
Automating that. Do you want to know the absolute truth of that? Yes. The absolute truth of that is that I took what you taught in the agent outreach stuff and repurposed it for Gator stuff.
Really? And specifically what I did? What did I do that did that?
Specifically the REI reply, automated text messages.
Oh, nice.
All of that is 100% based on the Skorch method.
Love it.
Of agent outreach. I just repurposed it. I do automatic outreach for private money. And then I'll do same thing for wholesalers. I mean, wholesalers, there's no national list of wholesalers. So you kind of have to do a little bit more work there. But thankfully, I've been blessed, and because of, being in the right place at the right time and people sort of propping me up like Pace has done, like you're doing, a lot of it is word of mouth. People are coming to me asking for funding for various deals. So, but the other side of it, the getting the capital in, that's 100% Skorch method. Jonah Korchin, 100% built.
That makes me feel really good because I feel like I did pretty average on teaching how to do the REI reply automations. Maybe I introduced you to REI reply, but I feel like when I was doing the system stuff, I was kind of winging it, but it was enough because you probably had never heard of REI reply before, right?
Exactly.
And just to even see that type of program, I have my own program now that's for agents and wholesalers, which is really good. And it has those methods in it, but it's cool. Any of those systems based off Go High Level, Astro Blaster, my system, REI reply, you can set up all sorts of cool workflows for any business whatsoever. So that makes me feel really good. I appreciate that, my man. I love hearing when people got value out of that course because it was fun.
No, yeah, it's super valuable. I'm using Dustin from Unapologetic Results right now. It's all based off of Go High Level, but yeah, the framework, the mentality was all based out of what you taught in the Skorch method.
I love it. So what do you feel like you need right now? Like what is keeping you, let's start with this. What are your goals? Like where are you trying to go right now? Where are you trying to go with your business?
I'm really interested in going the syndication route, particularly with assisted livings in the next for the next few years. That's what I'm planning on doing. I'd like to put together a fund, raise capital for acquisitions of assisted living facilities. I have a couple of guys I work with that are brilliant in terms of operations. My friend out of Arizona is a great resource. I'm watching him, trying to copy as much of him as I can too. I mean, that's what this is all about. Learning from each other, learning from the people who are going before us, and emulating and iterating. So that's what I'm focusing on for the next few years. Putting together a syndicated fund. We're going to make it legit, SEC, the whole thing, and acquire real estate purposely for senior living. That could be assisted living, it could be independent living. It's kind of a spectrum, right? There's some facilities that offer both assisted living and independent living, some that offer assisted living and memory care. That's a whole nother topic we can get into. Memory care and the reimbursements for that is fantastic to think about. All of those little things I see them as businesses that kind of flow into each other. And it just makes sense to build those opportunities there. So that's where I'm looking at.
Gotcha.
Long term, I would like to take a lot of those funds and a lot of those profits and recycle them into multifamily opportunities also. So we're kind of diversify the portfolio with not only senior care, but also multi-unit.
Love it. So then what do you feel like you're missing? What's the biggest thing in your business right now that you feel like you need?
Mindset. Mindset
Yeah.
stuff.
So I've been talking to you about the wrong stuff the entire podcast, it sounds like.
No. I know I can do it. It's not a matter of can I do it or can I not do it. It's just something I haven't done yet. And so I'm learning. I'm learning as I'm going. I have a few contacts that I still need to reach out to. Maybe we can talk about like one of the things that I still have a problem with. Listen, I'm a lender. I do Gator, I do private money, I do real estate. I still have a hard time asking people for money. And I'm not sure why. Maybe it's, growing up, that poor
it's because of
thing.
the issue the issue is why the way you're thinking about it. The fact you said you're asking for money is the problem. When you're raising private money, you're not asking for money. You're giving someone an opportunity to make a ton of money, right? You're not using the money to buy a Bugatti, right? You're not asking for a loan for something like that. You're basically you're giving somebody a better return and a better way to make a financial future for themselves than any other normal way they could possibly do it. Because they're not going to be able to manage their own real estate. They're going to put in the stock market. The stock market lost like 4 or 5% this year or something like that, right? So you're literally giving them an opportunity to make money and it at a guaranteed rate, right? So it's just the way you think about it, right? I used to think of it that way too. And now I'm way better at raising private money because I realize it's like, no, like I don't even care if you lend it. Like you're just stupid not to, right? Like with what you can do, you 100% should. Unless you're like actively doing deals in wholesaling, you're not going to get a better return unless you have like an active business, right? Yeah. So it's really easy when you start thinking of it that way. That's my tips for raising private money.
Yeah, for sure. I have no desire to run a full-fledged wholesaling operation. I don't have the time, So yeah, it's a great thing. I appreciate the mindset shift, and yeah, definitely.
Just start thinking of it that way, and I guarantee it'll make things way better. If you have trouble with it, it's because you think you're asking for money when really you're just presenting an opportunity, and it's really nonchalant. I literally tell them like, here's what happens, here's what it goes. I don't need your money. I have plenty of other resources. Like I'm doing this because I like you. You're my friend. like you hit me up on social media, like it's just an opportunity, but like if you don't want to do it, there's not going to affect me whatsoever. When you come like that, it gets a little bit better. Do you know Marco Rivera?
I do.
You know?
Yeah,
You
I
should hit
actually
him up.
interviewed him. I interviewed him on my
Okay.
show too.
You should hit him up because he taught me a lot of good stuff about how to make a business out of it. Because for me, I don't have the business of private money lending. I've got like 400K in private money, and that's more than enough for my resources right now, right? Like and not just naturally from everything that I do. He has like millions of private money, right? And I think he could be. If you don't know him yet, I mean you do, so you should hit him up and ask him like, hey, how do we make this into a business, right? He was talking to me on his podcast. I think we did it it was either last week or the week before. And he was talking about how once you do a successful deal, showcase it, get testimonials, create a package, all of that type of stuff, which I have not done very well yet. I have a credibility package, but it's not amazing. Yeah. It's okay. But
well, you do great stuff on Instagram. I see you all the time. I got to get better at that stuff too.
You should hit up Marco. He's my social media manager too. If you're at that point where you can afford to have a social media manager, it's freaking godsend. Like I would, if you hit him up and you say that I sent you, he'll give you like a special rate. And like, I mean, I know you already know him, but like if you say like, hey, like Jonah told me I should really do this. He said like you'd really hook it up, then he'll give you a lot of attention. He doesn't take on, I don't even know if he even takes on any more clients. Unless I do it. Like he said, if you refer someone, sure, but if other than that, I'm not taking any more. So
I got the Jonah special.
Yeah, you do. You get the Jonah special, 100%, bro. What else do you need? What else do you feel like? Is it just that? Is it just that type of stuff?
I mean, that's all. I'm really blessed. I can't ask for more. Like connections, I have plenty of connections, and those, I mean, connections are always great to have, right? And I love it when people reach out to me and we can talk and do some of that stuff. I'm always looking for more private money, obviously, because the numbers that I'm looking at, like in the assisted living space, are generally way bigger. You know, I'm looking at a deal right now that's valued at 7.5 million. So these are way bigger deals, and more private money is always great, right? So if anyone's interested in the senior living, assisted living space, definitely feel free to reach out.
I love it. Me. So I completely forgot my last question. There's one last question I ask everyone, right? And I forgot to ask it of you, so I need to make sure I ask it before you leave. Is, Rob, if you could go back to right when you were starting in real estate, you could go back knowing everything that you know now, what would you tell yourself then, knowing everything that you know now?
I would tell myself to focus more, to not get distracted by every shiny object that comes along. There's so many different ways to make money in real estate. Focus, pick one or two, and just go all in and spend a lot of time getting to know that business at a much deeper level until you really become the master of it, like the top in the field. Because being distracted by every little thing makes it so that you're ineffective. And that's 100% what was going on with me. A little bit of it was on purpose, yes. But that's, if I were to go back and do it again, that's what I would do for sure. And go bigger. Go bigger right from the very beginning.
I love it. I love it so much. So my man, you need more private money. You need more deals in Texas, I bet. What else do you need? What else can my community do for you?
I have access to all of the Gator pool. So if anyone ever needs any earnest money, double close funding, entry funding, I'm really big. You know, if you have a creative deal and you need entry funding for it, I'm happy to help connect you, or we can lend on it, or whatever it is. So that's definitely something I can help out with too also.
Love it. Awesome. Cool, my man. Well, I appreciate you so much for coming on. Is there any last words you want to say to the people?
Thank you all. Go ahead and follow me on Facebook.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Instagram,
Let me
YouTube.
get your Instagram. What are your Instagrams? What's your Facebook?
Every social media. Yeah, every social media that exists that I have a presence on, it's at the Rob Sema.
Love it. Awesome. Cool. So guys, if you're trying to learn about assisted living, all that good stuff, follow him on Instagram, follow him on YouTube. He's a beast. I appreciate him a lot. Thank you so much for coming on. Next week, guys, we have my new business partner, Tyler Warnaka. I just gave away 50% of my business, guys, to a new integrator who I just desperately needed it. I didn't know it until the past 2 weeks, where like everything's been hitting the way it's supposed to have been hitting for way, way longer. We're already looking like we're having a 60K month and our systems are like completely disorganized and like not there yet, but we just merged and both of our businesses are chugging along still. So we're about to merge. It's going to be cool. It's going to be a good interview about how we do that, how you merge with an integrator. Rob, again, thank you so much. You're a beast. Everybody go follow him. This is Skorch The Fears. I will see y'all next week. Let's freaking go.